And I'm back with part 3. Halloween is not what you think. And this gentleman on the screen that you're seeing is Robert Breaker. And this is his video about the truth about Halloween. And I'm going to let it play a little bit here. Okay.
The next thing we have is divinations. What's a divination? Divination is talking to these spirits and asking them to tell your future. That's what a divination is. Divination. Halloween was thought to be the most favorable time for divination. Of all the year, this was the time that the demons were most inclined to speak to you. And it was the most favorable time for divination, and it was the day of which the help of the devil was invoked for such purposes. It was the time in which they came together for divination concerning marriage, luck, health, death, etc. So all the people would come to these druidic priests on this day, the holy day. Remember, they call it Halloween, holy even. So all the people would come together and say to the priest, hey priest, we want to know the future. We know this is the day that we can find out. Of all the days, this is the day that they're more inclined to speak to us. So, hey, here's an offering. Here's a sacrifice. Talk to us. Tell us what our future is. That's what it's all about. And that's wicked. What does the Bible say about divination? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 18. God hates divination because divination is witchcraft. It is someone talking to familiar spirits and asking them to tell the future. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 10 through 13. Deuteronomy 18, 10 through 13. Thou shalt be perfect. Verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. Okay, we just looked at that. It's connected with bonfire. Now the next part says, or that useth divination. Okay. So those two are tied together. Or an observer of times. What is Halloween? It's observing one day of all days. Or an enchanter or a witch.
Observing that day for Satan. Not keeping God's holy days, which is another topic for another time.
Or a charmer or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard or a necromancer. Now what is a necromancer? Someone that talks to the dead. Verse 12, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from thee. 13, be thou perfect with the Lord thy God. God says, look, don't have any part with this. Go to Acts chapter 16 and verse 16 in the New Testament. Acts 16, 16. The Apostle Paul is preaching, if I remember correctly. And here comes somebody. And look at Acts chapter 16 and verse 16. And it came to pass as he went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with a spirit of divination. What was she possessed with? A devil or a demon. But the Bible called it a spirit of divination. That's what witchcraft is. It is talking to demons or devils, and they talk back to you. And that's evil. A spirit of divination, which brought her masters much gain in soothsaying. What is that? Telling the future. Your fortune tellers is what they are. And there's a lot more verses we could go into there. But let me get to...
Okay, I skipped ahead just a few seconds just to get to the next part to save time. Here we go.
We have another thing which is called two different things. I'll write up here what they're called. Quite interesting. We don't use these terms nowadays, but we still, I'll just write there what it is, as we usually call it. During this time of All Hallows Eve, during this pagan day of wickedness that they said was holy to their false god, they would practice what they call guising or mumming. Now, you probably never heard of guising or mumming, but the first word, guising, is not hard to understand. If I put D-E in the very front of that word, what do you get? Disguising. So basically, it is dressing up in a disguise. That's what guising is. Guising is dressing up, dressing oneself up in a disguise, in a costume. Or mumming. Now, what is mumming? I had to look for a while to figure out what this word meant. Mumming means wearing a mask and or putting on a play or a skit while you're dressed in this mask. They believed that dressing up like a spirit or impersonating that spirit was how they protected themselves from that spirit. So what they did is they dressed up in costumes. And guess what they dressed up as? Demons, devils, the dead, the walking dead.
Don't get it twisted. Dressing up like angels and pirates and Power Rangers doesn't make a difference. You're still disguising yourself. You're still presenting yourself as something that you're not.
So they're dressing up like the things that they fear, in the hopes that dressing up like the things that they fear will protect them from the things they fear. Well, what do they do nowadays in Halloween? They dress up in costumes. I remember as a child, my parents would never let me dress up and go trick-or-treating. And we're going to look at trick-or-treating here next. But I do remember once or twice I was allowed...
Skipping ahead again.
Weird. What does the Bible say about this? Well, Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 2. Jeremiah 10:2 says you're not supposed to learn the way of the heathen. What is this dressing up? That's the heathen. That's the pagans. We're not supposed to learn the way of the pagans. So we as Christians aren't supposed to dress up. 1 Samuel chapter 28. I thought this was interesting. There was a king in Israel who was not a good king. He was the worst king Israel ever had. He's the type of the Antichrist, really. And the name of this king was King Saul. And King Saul did everything he should not have done. And God got angry with King Saul. And King Saul tried to repent, tried to come to God, but God would not accept him. And let's go to 1 Samuel 28 and see what he did. 1 Samuel 28, verse 6 through 8. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Verse 7, then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. Imagine. Well, God won't talk to me, so I'll go talk to a demon. What a horrible king. And then he said, and his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. Now look at verse 8. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and he went. What did he do? He dressed up and pretended to be someone he wasn't. He went with a disguise.
For sake of time, skipped ahead again a little bit.
Well, then there's another one, and it's called trick or treat. Now, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. You know, that's how kids go around every year, walking around, going to your house. What is trick or treat? Where does it come from? Well, trick or treat is something they did. Remember, earlier I mentioned that they believed, these Druids, that these dead spirits would come door to door. So the Druids would also come door to door, and they would claim, you know, we'll get rid of the spirits for you. And they would come to your door and they would say, well, trick or treat, which one do you want? I mean, do you want to give us a treat to placate or appease these false gods, these demons, so they don't attack you? Or do you want us to just leave and let you be tricked and let them... So it was all about the priest coming and getting something. What is the trick? The trick is an idle threat. It's almost like they're threatening you. Hey, you give me a treat or else I'm going to trick you. So it's trick or treat. What is the treat? Usually it was in the form of candy or money. Well, today, candy or money. Today, all we think about is going door to door and getting candy. And the kids love the candy. And that's what this holiday is to them, is going door to door, dressing up like a ghoul, and getting candy. Without even thinking that this all goes back to the pagan practices that these pagans did.
So I've paused it here, and I will actually have a part 4 because I want to share some more with you guys. Alright, be back shortly.